I let my family think I stole $47,000. I didn't. But I knew who did, and I never told them. I was innocent. I could have proven it in 30 seconds. Instead, I stayed silent and watched my brother hang himself. How it all played, the envelope had my name on it, but my father didn't look at me when he slid it across the table. "Read it outside," he said. I knew what it was. I'd known for 3 days, since the accountant found the missing money. Since David sat in Dad's office with printouts of transactions. Since my name appeared on transfers I never made. The envelope was thin. Legal paper. Clean edges. I picked it up. My mother was crying in the kitchen. I could hear her through the wall, that specific sound she made when she was disappointed, not angry. Disappointed. David stood in the corner of the dining room. He didn't say anything. He just watched me with his arms crossed. And I remember thinking his shirt was new. Expensive. I'd seen the same one in a magazine for $300. "You're not going to defend yourself?" my father asked. I looked at the envelope. "No," I said. "Marcus." My father's voice broke on my name. He was 68 years old. He'd built Brennan Logistics from a single truck to 40 employees. He'd never cried in front of me. "Just tell me why." I could have told him. I could have said David's name. I could have mentioned the second ledger I found in the warehouse office, the one David didn't know I'd seen. I could have explained the payments to the offshore account, the falsified vendor invoices, the way David had been skimming for 18 months. I could have told him that David set this up perfectly, that he used my login because I'd written my password on a post-it note in my desk drawer, that the $47,000 they found was just the amount David wanted them to find, because the real total was over $200,000. But I didn't say any of that. "I'm sorry," I said. David's face didn't change, but I saw his shoulders relax. My father stood up. He was a big man, still strong even with the arthritis in his hands. He taught me how to drive a truck, how to negotiate shipping rates, how to treat people fairly even when business was hard. "Get out of my house," he said. "If you've ever stayed silent when the truth could have saved you, just because speaking would have destroyed someone you loved, leave a comment and stay with me. Because that silence changes everything." I folded the envelope and put it in my jacket pocket. My mother came out of the kitchen. Her eyes were red. She looked at me like I was a stranger, and I guessed to her now I was. The son she raised wouldn't steal, wouldn't lie, wouldn't betray the family. "Mom," I said. She turned away. David walked me to the door. He didn't gloat. That wasn't his style. He just opened it and waited. "You know what happens now," he said quietly. "The business goes to me. Dad's already called the lawyer." I looked at him, really looked at him. My younger brother. The one I'd covered for in high school when he crashed Dad's car. The one I'd lent money to when his gambling got bad. The one I'd believed when he said he was done, he was clean, he'd changed. "Yeah," I said. "I know. You could have fought this," David said. "Why didn't you?" I could have answered. I could have told him I knew everything, that I'd known for months, that I'd made copies of the real ledger and hidden them somewhere he'd never find them. But I just walked out. The Chicago wind hit me on the porch steps. It was April, still cold. I could see my breath. I got in my car. A 2015 Honda. Nothing special. I'd been saving for a down payment on a house, back when I thought I had a future with the company. Back when I thought being honest meant something. My phone rang before I even left the driveway. It was my sister Claire. She was the youngest, 26, worked in the office doing payroll. "Marcus, what the hell did you do?" Her voice was sharp. Angry. "I didn't do anything," I said. "Dad just told me you're out, completely out, and David's taking over operations." I pulled onto the street. The house got smaller in my rearview mirror. I'd grown up there, learned to ride a bike in that driveway, had my first kiss on that porch. "Claire, I need you to listen to me," I said. "I'm listening. Watch David." "What?" "Just watch him. Watch what he does with the money. Watch the accounts. Watch the vendors." There was silence on the line. "You're saying David did this?" she asked. "I'm not saying anything," I said. "I'm just saying watch him." "Then why didn't you tell Dad?" I stopped at a red light. An old man was crossing the street with a grocery bag. He looked tired. I wondered if he had kids, if they disappointed him. "Because Dad wouldn't have believed me," I said. "Not without proof, and if I showed him proof, it would have killed him." "Marcus, Claire, Dad's 68. He's got the heart condition. You remember what Dr. Patel said. No stress, no shocks. So you're just going to let David steal your life?" The light turned green. "I already did," I said, and I hung up. I drove to my apartment. I'd been renting since college, waiting for the right time to buy. Waiting for my inheritance. Waiting for my place in the company to solidify. All that waiting was done now. I sat in my parking spot for 20 minutes. The envelope was still in my pocket. I finally opened it. It was short. Legal language. Effective immediately, my position at Brennan Logistics was terminated. My stake in the company was forfeit due to breach of fiduciary duty. I was barred from company property. I had 48 hours to return any company assets. At the bottom, my father had signed his name. The handwriting was shaky. I folded the letter and went inside. My apartment was small. 1 bedroom. A kitchen I barely used. I'd spent most of my life at the warehouse, at the office, on the road with drivers. Now I had nothing to do. I opened my laptop and looked at the folder I'd created 3 months ago. It was labeled Backup Files 2019. Innocent. Boring. Inside were 247 documents, bank statements, invoices, transfer records, photos of the second ledger, emails David had sent from the office computer, the one he thought was private. Everything I needed to prove he'd been stealing. Everything I needed to clear my name. I could have sent them to my father, to the accountant, to the police, but I didn't, because I knew something David didn't know. I knew he wouldn't stop. Stealing wasn't just about the money for David. It was about the thrill, the control, the feeling of getting away with it. I'd watched him my whole life. Watched him lie to teachers, to girlfriends, to our parents. Watched him take and take and take and take, and never face consequences. He thought he'd won. He thought he'd finally beaten me. And I was going to let him believe that. I closed the laptop. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Sorry it had to be this way, but you should have been more careful with your passwords." I stared at the message. I could have replied. Could have told him I knew. Could have warned him that silence wasn't surrender. Instead, I typed, "You're right. My mistake." He responded immediately. "Take care of yourself, Marcus." I put the phone down. 3 months later, I got a job at a competing shipping company. Smaller operation. Less pay. But honest work. 6 months after that, Claire called me at 2 a.m. "Marcus," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Something's wrong with the accounts." I sat up in bed. "What kind of wrong?" "David's been moving money. A lot of money. Dad just found out. There's a meeting tomorrow with the accountant and the lawyer." I didn't say anything. "Marcus, were you right? Did David do this to you?" I looked at the ceiling of my new apartment. Smaller than the last one. Cheaper rent. Further from the family home. "Claire, I need you to promise me something," I said. "What?" "Don't tell Dad I said anything. Don't tell anyone we talked about this. Just let it play out. But if you knew, I didn't know, I lied. I suspected, there's a difference." She was quiet for a long time. "He's going to ask you to come back," she finally said. "When this all comes out, when they realize what he did, Dad's going to want you back." I closed my eyes. "Maybe," I said. But I knew the truth. I knew that David wouldn't just get caught. He'd get desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. Big ones. And I knew that the longer I stayed silent, the deeper David would dig himself. That was my revenge. Not confrontation. Not exposure. Just patience. Just silence. Just letting him believe he'd won, until the weight of his own lies crushed him. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had changed. My boss asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. That night, David called me. "Marcus, we need to talk," he said. His voice was different. Tight. Scared. "About what?" I asked. "About the company. About what happened." I waited. "I think someone's been stealing," he said. "More than what they blamed on you. A lot more. And Dad thinks it might have been both of us. He thinks we were working together." I almost laughed. But I didn't. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "I need you to tell Dad it wasn't you. That you didn't know anything about the new missing money. That you weren't involved." "But David," I said quietly. "I wasn't involved. Not in any of it." The line went silent. And in that silence, I heard something break. The family meeting was on a Thursday. My father called me himself. Not David. Not Claire. "Marcus," he said. His voice sounded older than I remembered. "I need you to come to the house. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. "What's this about?" I asked. "Just come." He hung up. I hadn't been inside that house in 8 months. 8 months of silence. 8 months of letting them believe I was the thief. 8 months of watching my phone, waiting for the call I knew would come. I drove there the next morning. The Honda needed an oil change. I'd been putting it off because money was tight. My new job paid $20,000 less than what I'd made at Brennan Logistics. My apartment was smaller. My life was smaller. But I wasn't angry. Anger would have meant I cared about what they thought. I pulled into the driveway at 9:55 a.m. David's car was already there. A new BMW. Black. I'd seen the same model online for $75,000. He was still spending. That told me everything I needed to know. My father opened the door before I could knock. He looked thinner, grayer. The heart condition was winning. "Come in," he said. The house smelled the same. Coffee. Wood polish. My mother's lavender candles. Mom was in the living room. She looked at me when I walked in, and for the first time in 8 months, she didn't look away. "Marcus," she said softly. I nodded. David sat on the couch. He wasn't wearing the expensive shirt anymore, just a plain polo. His hands were in his lap. He looked like he hadn't slept. Claire was there too, standing by the window. She gave me a small smile. The accountant was at the dining room table. Mr. Shapiro. I'd known him since I was a kid. He used to bring me candy when he came for quarterly reviews. He didn't look at me now. "Sit down, Marcus," my father said. I sat in the chair across from David, the same chair where I'd read the termination letter. My father stood in the middle of the room. He looked at each of us, one by one, like he was memorizing our faces. "There's been a development," he said. Mr. Shapiro found additional discrepancies in the company accounts, significant ones. David's jaw tightened. "How significant?" I asked. $76,000, Mr. Shapiro said. He opened a folder on the table. Spread across 14 months, different accounts, different methods, but the same pattern as the original $47,000. My mother made a sound. A small gasp. "The original theft," Mr. Shapiro continued, "the one attributed to Marcus, appears to have been part of a larger scheme." Everyone looked at me. If you've ever had the chance to clear your name but stayed quiet because the truth hadn't finished its work yet, you know what I felt in that moment. I said nothing. "Marcus," my father said. "Did you know about this?" "No," I said. It wasn't a lie. I didn't know about the $176,000. I knew about $200,000. David had gotten sloppy, taken less than I thought he would. "The transactions," Mr. Shapiro said, "show a pattern of access using multiple login credentials, including Marcus's and David's." David stood up. "Wait," he said. "You're not saying I did this." Mr. Shapiro looked at him. "I'm saying the evidence shows both accounts were used." "That's because someone hacked us," David said. His voice was rising. "Someone got into the system. Maybe Marcus gave them his password. Maybe he's been working with someone on the outside." My father turned to me. "Is that true?" I could have ended it right there. I could have said, "David has a gambling problem. Check his credit cards. Check the offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Check the second ledger he kept in the warehouse office, bottom drawer, under the insurance files." But I didn't. "I don't know what happened," I said. "I was fired 8 months ago. I haven't touched the company's system since." David looked at me. Really looked at me. And I saw something flicker in his eyes. Fear. Because he was starting to understand. He was starting to realize that I wasn't fighting back. And that was worse than any accusation. "Dad," David said, "I think we should bring in a forensic accountant, a real investigator, someone who can trace these transactions back to their source." My father nodded slowly. "Mr. Shapiro has already recommended that." "Good," David said. "Because whoever did this needs to be caught, prosecuted. This is fraud. This is theft." The irony was almost beautiful. My mother spoke for the first time. "Marcus, why didn't you defend yourself before, when you were accused the first time?" I looked at her. My mother. Who taught me to read? Who bandaged my knees when I fell off my bike? Who believed I was a thief for 8 months? "Because I thought it would resolve itself," I said. "That's not an answer," she said. "It's the only answer I have," I said. Claire moved from the window. She sat down next to me. "Marcus, if you know something, you need to say it now. This has gone far enough." I wanted to tell her. I wanted to tell all of them. But I knew what would happen if I did. My father would have a heart attack. Maybe not literally, but close enough. The stress of knowing his youngest son, the one he was about to give the company to, had been stealing from him for years. That would kill him. My mother would blame herself. Would wonder where she went wrong. Would spend the rest of her life asking why David turned out this way. Claire would lose her brother. Both brothers, really. Because if I spoke now, David would never forgive me. And the family would never recover. So I stayed quiet. "I don't know anything," I said. The meeting lasted another hour. Mr. Shapiro explained the investigation timeline. 6 to 8 weeks. Maybe longer. They'd bring in specialists. Trace every transaction. Audit every account. David kept talking. Kept suggesting theories. Kept pointing fingers at external threats, hackers, disgruntled employees. He never once suggested it might be him. That's how good he was at lying. Or how desperate. When the meeting ended, my father asked me to stay. Everyone else left. I heard David's BMW start in the driveway. Heard the engine fade down the street. My father sat across from me. "You know something," he said. It wasn't a question. "Dad, don't lie to me, Marcus. I've known you for 34 years. I can tell when you're holding back." I looked at my hands. The same hands that used to help him load trucks. That learned to drive stick shift in the company parking lot. That he shook the day I graduated college. "If I tell you what I know," I said, "it'll destroy you." He was quiet for a long time. "Is it David?" he asked. I didn't answer. "Marcus, is it David?" I stood up. "I need to go." "God damn it, Marcus, answer me." I'd never heard him curse before. Not once in my entire life. I turned to face him. My father. 68 years old. Gray hair. Shaking hands. Weak heart. "Do you remember what Dr. Patel said?" I asked. "About stress?" My father's face went pale. "No," he said. "No, don't do this. Don't protect him." "I'm not protecting him," I said. "I'm protecting you." I walked to the door. "Marcus, if David did this, if he stole from the company, if he framed you..." My father's voice broke. "I need to know." I put my hand on the doorknob. "You'll know," I said. "In 6 to 8 weeks, when the investigation is done, you'll know. And what am I supposed to do until then?" I looked back at him. This man who taught me everything. Who believed the worst about me for 8 months. Who signed my termination letter with shaking hands. "What you did to me," I said. "You're supposed to wait." I left. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before I could drive. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight. I wanted to go back inside. Wanted to tell him everything. Wanted to show him the folder on my laptop with 247 documents that proved David was guilty and I was innocent. But I didn't. Because I'd made a choice 8 months ago. And choices like that, once you make them, you can't unmake. My phone rang. Claire. "What did Dad say to you?" she asked. "He asked if it was David." "What did you tell him?" "Nothing." Claire was quiet. "Then Marcus." I looked at the accounts. I saw the pattern Mr. Shapiro mentioned. And I found something else. My heart started beating faster. "What did you find?" "There's a vendor. Pacific Shipping Solutions. They've been getting payments for 2 years. $3,000 to $5,000 a month. But when I called the number on file, it's disconnected. When I looked up the business license, it doesn't exist." I closed my eyes. Pacific Shipping Solutions. I'd found that vendor 18 months ago. Seen the invoices. Known it was fake. Known it was David. "Did you tell Dad?" I asked. "Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first." She paused. "Marcus, did you know about this vendor?" "Yeah," I said. "For how long?" "A while." "And you didn't say anything?" "No." I watched a bird land on my hood. A small brown sparrow. It hopped twice, then flew away. "Because I wanted to see how far he'd go," I said. Claire didn't respond for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was different. Colder. "You're not the victim here, Marcus. You're something else. I don't know what. But it's not victim." She hung up. I drove back to my apartment. Made coffee. Opened my laptop. The folder was still there. Backup files 2019. I added a new document. A timeline. Everything that had happened in the last 8 months. Every call. Every meeting. Every moment I could have spoken and didn't. I was building a record. Not for them. For me. So I'd remember why I did this. Why I let them think I was guilty. Why I let David destroy himself. The investigation took 7 weeks. During that time, David called me 3 times. The first call, he was angry. Accused me of planting evidence. Of sabotaging him. I listened. Said nothing. Hung up. The second call, he was desperate. Asked me to tell the investigators I was the one who created Pacific Shipping Solutions. Said he'd split the company with me 50/50 if I took the blame. I laughed. Then I hung up. The third call came at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. He was crying. "Marcus," he said. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't mean to hurt you." I sat up in bed. Turned on the light. "Yes, you did," I said. "No, I swear, I needed the money. The gambling, it got bad again, and I thought I could pay it back before anyone noticed. But then it kept growing in David. And I saw your password on that post-it note, and I thought if I just used your account a few times, spread it around, no one would notice. But then Dad started asking questions, and I panicked. David. And I'm sorry, Marcus, I'm so sorry, please. You have to help me. You have to tell them it wasn't me." "I'm not going to do that," I said. He went quiet. Why? He whispered. Because you didn't just steal money, I said. You stole my life, my reputation, my family. You let them think I was a thief for 8 months. You watched me lose everything and you said nothing. I'll confess, he said. I'll tell Dad everything. I'll make it right. It's too late for that. Marcus, please? You called me at 3 a.m., I said, because you're scared. Because the investigation is almost done and you know what they're going to find. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. That's not true. Good night, David. I hung up. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the moment when my father would learn the truth. When he'd realize his youngest son was a thief. When he'd remember that he fired his oldest son for nothing. When he'd understand that I knew all along and said nothing. That moment was coming, and I still wasn't sure if I'd made the right choice. But it was too late now. The silence had gone too far. The investigation report came on a Friday. Mr. Shapiro called my father, asked him to come to his office, alone. My father called me from the car. They found something, he said. Something bad. I know, I said. How do you know? Because I've known for a long time. I could hear him breathing, heavy, labored. Is it going to kill me? He asked. The truth? I thought about lying, but I'd done enough of that. Maybe, I said, but not knowing would have killed you slower. He hung up. 3 hours later, Claire called. Dad's in the hospital, she said. Chest pains. They think it's a minor heart attack. I grabbed my keys. Is he okay? They don't know yet. Marcus, her voice cracked. He knows. About David. Mr. Shapiro told him everything before the chest pains started. And now Dad keeps saying your name. I was already in my car. I'm on my way, I said. Marcus, did you know? This whole time, did you know it was David? I started the engine. Yes, I said, and you let Dad fire you. Let us think you were guilty. For 8 months. Yes. Why? I pulled onto the street. The hospital was 20 minutes away. Because, I said, some revenge only works if you're patient enough to let it happen. My father was in room 412. I could hear my mother crying before I reached the door. Claire was in the hallway. Her eyes were red. He's stable, she said. But Marcus, he's asking for you. And he's angry. Where's David? I asked. He left after Mr. Shapiro called him. Didn't even come to the hospital. I walked into the room. My father was propped up in bed, heart monitor beeping, the fourth in his arm. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, fragile, but his eyes were sharp. Get out, my mother said when she saw me. Helen, my father started. No, she said. No, he doesn't get to be here. Not after what he did. I stayed in the doorway. My father looked at her. He didn't steal the money. I know that now, she said, but he knew. He knew it was David, and he said nothing. For 8 months, he let us think. Her voice broke. He let us think our son was a thief. I was still your son, I said quietly. She turned to me. You let your father have a heart attack, Marcus. You had proof. You could have stopped this. You could have saved us all this pain. But you chose not to. I chose to protect him, I said, looking at my father. By lying, my mother said. By staying silent. There's a difference. My father waved his hand. The motion was weak. Helen, give us a minute. Dad, Claire said. Both of you. Please. They left. I heard my mother crying in the hallway. Heard Claire trying to comfort her. I walked to bed. My father looked at me for a long time. The heart monitor beeped between us. Steady. Alive. You knew, he said. Yes. For how long? 18 months. Maybe more. He closed his eyes. Before I accused you. Yes. And you said nothing. I pulled a chair close to the bed. Sat down. My legs felt weak. I said nothing because you wouldn't have believed me, I said. Not without proof. And if I showed you proof 18 months ago, when David had only stolen $30,000, you would have confronted him. He would have cried. Apologized. Promised to pay it back. And you would have forgiven him. My father's jaw tightened. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because that's what happened when he crashed your car in high school. When he stole from Mom's purse in college. When he lost $15,000 in Atlantic City 3 years ago. You always forgave him. He's my son. So am I. The heart monitor beeped faster. A nurse glanced in, saw us talking, left. My father's voice was rough. So you let him frame you. Let him steal more. Let him dig his own grave. Yes. That's not protection, Marcus. That's revenge. I looked at my hands. Maybe it's both. You could have stopped him. No, I said. I could have delayed him. Could have interrupted him. But I couldn't stop him. Because David doesn't stop. He just pauses. Waits. Finds a new angle. My father stared at the ceiling. The investigator found everything. The offshore accounts, the fake vendor, the gambling debts. Pacific Shipping Solutions was just him, paying himself, for 2 years. I know. He took $223,000, my father said. That's what the final number was. $223,000 from the company I built, from his own family. I stayed quiet. Mr. Shapiro says we can press charges. Wire fraud. Embezzlement. David could go to prison for 10 years. What are you going to do? I asked. My father looked at me. What do you think I should do? I think, I said slowly, that you should ask yourself if you would have sent me to prison. His face went pale. When you thought it was me, I continued. When you fired me. When you took away my inheritance. Did you consider calling the police? Marcus, did you? No, he whispered. You're my son. I was angry. Hurt. But I wouldn't have, exactly, I said. You wouldn't have destroyed me. Even when you thought I betrayed you. So you won't destroy David either. The heart monitor beeped faster again. The nurse came in, checked the readings, gave my father a warning look. You need to stay calm, Mr. Brennan, she said. My father nodded, waited for her to leave. You're angry at me, he said. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. Yes. Because I didn't believe you. No, I said. Because you didn't ask. That hit him. I saw it in his face. You accused me, I said. Showed me the evidence. Asked me to read a letter outside. But you never asked me if I did it. You never looked at me and said, Marcus, did you steal this money? You just assumed. The evidence was planted. Badly. My password was written on a post-it note in my desk. Anyone could have used it. But you didn't question that. You didn't wonder why I would steal money and leave such an obvious trail. You just believed I was capable of it. My father's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't give me back 8 months. Doesn't give me back the apartment I had to leave. The savings I burned through. The nights I couldn't sleep because my own family thought I was a thief. What do you want from me? He asked. I stood up, looked out the window. The Chicago skyline, gray sky, cold day. I want you to understand, I said, that I didn't stay silent to hurt you. I stayed silent because David needed to fail on his own. Completely. Undeniably. So that when the truth came out, there would be no doubt. No second chances. No forgiveness that would just enable him to do it again. You sacrificed yourself for that? I sacrificed 8 months, I said. David sacrificed his entire future. My father was quiet for a long time. The company, he finally said, it's yours, if you want it. I turned to face him. What about David? David is out. Permanently. I'm having the lawyers draft the paperwork now. He'll get nothing. And if I say no? If I don't want the company? My father looked confused. Why wouldn't you want it? Because I said the company fired me. Called me a thief. Took away everything I worked for. Why would I come back to that? Because it's your birthright. Because you earned it. Because he stopped. Took a shaky breath. Because I'm asking you to. If you've ever been offered everything you wanted after you stopped wanting it, you know how strange that moment feels. I need time, I said. How much time? I don't know. The door opened. Claire came in. Marcus, there's someone here to see you. Who? My father's face went hard. Tell him to leave. I think Marcus should talk to him, Claire said. Just once, so this can end. I looked at my father. He nodded slowly. I walked out into the hallway. David was by the elevator. He looked terrible. Unshaved. Wrinkled shirt. Eyes hollow. He saw me and straightened up. Tried to look defiant. They're lying, he said. The investigators, they made mistakes. I can prove it. I walked past him. Marcus. I pressed the elevator button. I need you to tell them, David said. Tell them it wasn't me. Tell them someone else had access to the accounts. Tell them. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. David grabbed my arm. Please, Marcus. I'm your brother. You have to help me. I looked at his hand on my arm. Looked at his face. My younger brother. Who I'd protected my entire life. I did help you, I said. What? I stayed quiet for 8 months. Gave you time to stop. To confess. To make it right. You didn't. I couldn't. You called me at 3 a.m. crying, I said. Not because you felt guilty, because you got caught. There's a difference. I pulled my arm free. Marcus, they're going to press charges. I could go to prison. I know. And you're okay with that? The elevator doors started to close. I held them open. David, I said. Do you remember when you were 16? When you crashed Dad's car and I told him I was driving? David went still. I took the blame. Lost my license for 6 months. Dad was so disappointed in me. But I did it because you begged me. Because you said it was an accident. that it would never happen again. That was different. Or when you stole mom's engagement ring to pay off a poker debt. Who found it at the pawn shop? Who bought it back with money from my college fund? Who put it back in her jewelry box before she noticed? David's face crumpled. Or the time you stop, he said. Just stop. I've been protecting you my whole life, I said. Cleaning up your mistakes, taking your blame, and you repaid me by framing me for theft. By stealing my inheritance. By letting our parents think I betrayed them. I didn't mean yes you did, I said. You meant every bit of it, because that's who you are. You take, you lie, you hurt people, and you never face consequences. I let go of the elevator doors. Until now, I said. The doors closed. I rode down to the lobby, walked outside. The cold air hit my face. My phone rang. My father. Marcus, he said. His voice was stronger. I need to tell you something. What? I knew. My heart stopped. What do you mean you knew? Not everything, he said quickly. But I knew something was wrong. About 6 months ago, I saw discrepancies, asked Mr. Shapiro to look into them quietly. He said it was probably just accounting errors. But I knew. I felt it. I leaned against the building. My legs went weak. And you still fired me? I asked. The evidence pointed to you. Your login, your access. I thought. He stopped. I thought maybe you were struggling, needed money. I thought if I fired you, scared you, you'd stop. Confess. Let me help you. But I didn't confess. No. You just disappeared. Got a new job. Moved on. And I thought his voice broke. I thought I'd lost you, that I'd accused my innocent son and driven him away. You did. I know. And then the new theft happened, and I realized, if you were guilty, you wouldn't have left. You would have stayed. Kept stealing. But you walked away, which meant I was innocent. Yes, he whispered. And I destroyed you for nothing. I closed my eyes. Why didn't you call me? Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't know how to admit I was wrong. Because he paused. Because I thought if the investigation proved your innocence, I could bring you back with honor, clear your name officially, give you everything you deserved. Instead, you had a heart attack, I said. Instead, I learned my other son is a criminal, and that the son I wronged is a better man than I am. I stood there in the cold, watching people walk past. Normal people with normal problems. I'm coming back to the hospital, I said. No, my father said. Go home. Rest. We'll talk tomorrow. I just needed you to know I suspected, not about David specifically, but about the truth, and I was too proud to admit I was wrong. He hung up. I drove home. Sat in my apartment. Looked at the folder on my laptop. Backup files 2019. 247 documents. 18 months of evidence. Proof of everything. I could have sent it to my father 6 months ago. Could have cleared my name immediately. But I didn't. Because I wanted him to find the truth himself. I wanted David to fail spectacularly. I wanted my family to see, without my interference, who their youngest son really was. And now they had. 3 days later, David called me from a lawyer's office. They're offering a deal, he said. Plea bargain. 3 years in minimum security if I pay back the money and testify against the offshore bank. Take it, I said. I can't pay it back. I don't have $223,000. Then you'll go to trial and lose. Marcus, please, talk to Dad. Tell him to drop the charges. Tell him Dad didn't press charges, I said. The company did, on the advice of the board and the lawyers. It's out of his hands now. That was a lie. My father could stop it. But I wasn't going to tell David that. This is your fault, David said. If you'd just told them from the beginning, if I'd told them from the beginning, I interrupted. You would have gotten away with it. Again, like you always do. But I didn't tell them. I waited. And you kept stealing, kept digging. And now you're so deep you can't climb out. I hate you, he said. I know, I said. But you'll have 3 years to get over it. He hung up. I never spoke to David again. He took the plea deal. 3 years in federal prison. $223,000 in restitution. Permanent ban from working in financial services. He was released after 22 months for good behavior. I heard he moved to Nevada. Works in construction now. Doesn't gamble anymore, according to Claire. I don't know if that's true. I don't care. My father recovered from the heart attack. Went back to work part-time. Handed me control of Brennan Logistics 6 months after he got out of the hospital. I rebuilt the company. Cut the corruption. Hired new people. Grew revenue by 40% in 2 years. My father died 3 years later. Peacefully. Heart failure. Expected. At the funeral, my mother barely spoke to me. She never forgave me for staying silent. Never understood why I let her suffer. Why I let my father have a heart attack instead of just showing them the evidence. I tried to explain once. Told her that some truths need time to arrive properly. That if I'd spoken too soon, David would have been forgiven, enabled, given another chance to steal. She said I was cruel. Maybe she was right. Claire still works for the company. We're cordial, professional, but we're not close anymore. She looks at me sometimes like I'm a stranger, like the brother she knew died the day I decided to stay silent. Maybe he did. The company is worth $12 million now. I could sell it, retire, move somewhere warm. But I won't, because the company isn't the revenge. The revenge was watching David believe he'd won, watching him spend money he didn't have, buy a BMW, get comfortable, get arrogant, watching him call me at 3 a.m. crying, watching him realize, too late, that I'd known all along, that I'd let him hang himself, that my silence wasn't weakness, it was patience. People ask me sometimes if it was worth it, if losing my family's trust was worth proving a point, if 8 months of being called a thief was worth watching my brother go to prison, if my father's heart attack was worth clearing my name. I don't answer them, because the truth is complicated. I won. I got the company. I got vindicated. I got revenge. But I lost my brother, lost my mother's respect, lost the version of myself that would have just told the truth and let the consequences fall where they may. And I can't decide if that makes me smart or broken. Sometimes late at night, I think about that moment in my father's office, when I could have just shown him the evidence, could have said, here, look, David did this, not me. Would have taken 30 seconds, would have saved 8 months of pain. But then David would have cried, apologized, been forgiven. And a year later, he would have done it again. I know that in my bones. So I stayed quiet. I let him destroy himself, and I watched. That's the thing about revenge through silence. It's patient. It's brutal. It's effective. But it costs you something. It costs you the person you were before you learned to wait. Before you learned that sometimes the best weapon isn't words. It's the absence of them. I'm 39 now. I run a successful company. I'm respected in my industry. I'm financially secure. I'm also alone. Because the kind of person who can stay silent for 8 months while their family suffers isn't the kind of person people want to be close to. They don't trust you. They wonder what else you're not saying, what else you're waiting for, what else you know that you're keeping quiet about until the perfect moment. And they're right to wonder. Because once you learn that the power of strategic silence, you never unlearn it. You just wait and watch. And when the time is right, you speak once. And it destroys everything. My father taught me to be honest, to work hard, to treat people fairly. David taught me something different. He taught me that honesty doesn't always win, that hard work can be stolen, that treating people fairly just gives them opportunities to betray you. So I learned a new lesson. I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation. It's patience. It's silence. It's letting people believe a lie until that lie becomes their prison. Was it worth it? I don't know. Ask me in another 8 months. Maybe by then I'll have an answer. Or maybe I'll just keep waiting. Because that's what I do now. I wait. I watch. And when the moment is right, I speak once. And it destroys everything. The end. If this story made you think about a time you stayed quiet, when you could have spoken, when you let someone believe something false because the truth wasn't ready yet, drop a comment below. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the longest game you'll ever play.